You've never actually been bored. Right now, somewhere, someone is standing in a line. 40 seconds. Nobody moving. Nobody talking. Their thumb is already reaching for the phone. You've done this today. Maybe in the last 10 minutes. And here's the part that sounds wrong: the itch you were running from, that specific, low-grade dread of empty time, didn't have a word until 1852. Not the feeling. The word. Humans have always had brains. Brains have always needed something to do. But boredom, the modern one, the one that sends your thumb moving before you've even noticed, is borrowed, built, and barely 200 years old. So what did people feel before the word existed? And what, exactly, changed? Charles Dickens put boredom into print in 1852, in a novel called Bleak House. Before that, English didn't really have a name for this specific ache. You could be weary. You could be idle. But idle wasn't a problem. Idle was just time. Empty, unbothered, nobody's enemy. Psychologists James Dankert and John Eastwood, at the University of Waterloo, spent years studying what boredom actually is underneath the word. Their answer isn't nothing to do. Their answer is stranger. Boredom, they argue, is a signal, your brain telling you it wants to be engaged, and can't find the target. Not empty. Frustrated. An alarm with nothing to point at. Which raises the obvious question. If boredom is just an alarm, why does it feel unbearable 40 seconds into a line, when, for most of human history, it apparently wasn't? Look at the Kung in the Kalahari. In the 1960s, anthropologist Richard Lee sat down and actually timed how they spent their days. Hunting and gathering food took them, on average, somewhere around 15 hours a week. The rest was talk. Tool work. Stories told twice. Nothing in particular, next to somebody else. Anthropologist Marshall Solons called this the original affluent society, not because they had more, but because they wanted less, and time was left over anyway. Empty time. Constantly. And nothing to fill it with but each other. You wake up when the sky lightens. You sleep on a hide over dry grass. Nobody owns a clock. The first hour of the morning is just talking. So here's the question that should bother you. If empty time is the trigger, why weren't they bored out of their minds, all day, every day? Here's what's fascinating. They weren't alone in it. That's the whole difference. Idle time, for most of human history, was never solo time. Someone else was always right there, hands busy, half a sentence hanging in the air. The silence had a body in it. Your idle time doesn't. You wait for the bus alone. You sit in the line alone. You lie in bed, phone lit, alone. And that's where this gets deeper, because the ache you feel isn't just nothing to do. It's nothing to do, and nobody here. Two different problems. Wearing the same name. Psychologist Sandy Mann, at the University of Central Lancashire, ran people through some of the dullest tasks she could design, copying numbers out of a phone book, reading them back out loud. Then she gave them something creative to do right after. The bored group didn't shut down. They daydreamed more. They solved the creative task better than people who hadn't been bored first. Boredom, in other words, was doing something. Quietly. In the background. Like digestion, for a mind. But here's the part that quietly changes everything. For that process to finish, the boredom has to be allowed to run its course. It has to sit there, unanswered, long enough to push the brain into its own material. So what happens if you never let it finish? That's the turn. Boredom isn't gone in 2026. Your brain still fires the exact same signal your ancestors did, sitting by a fire with nothing scheduled. What's gone is the 40 seconds. The device in your hand answers the alarm before it can do its job, almost every time, almost instantly. You're not bored less than they were. You're bored exactly as much. You just never get to feel it long enough for it to become anything. Think about what that costs. The daydream that would have solved something. The idea that shows up at minute 3, not minute 1. Interrupted. Every time. Before it can arrive. Here's the mirror part, and it isn't comfortable. That itch you felt, 40 seconds into the line, that's not weakness. That's the oldest alarm your species owns, going off exactly on schedule. You just live in the first stretch of human history where the alarm gets muted before you've even registered it went off. 40 times an hour, maybe. Every day you're awake. Each one a thought that never got the 40 seconds it needed to exist. No one is suggesting you throw the phone away. Electric light. Antibiotics. A way to see your kid's face from across the country. Nobody's trading that back. But here's the honest trade, and it's worth naming clearly. We solved nothing to do. We never solved nobody here, we just gave it a screen to point at instead. Two different problems. One answer, pretending to cover both. Tonight, the next time your hand moves toward the phone before the boredom even lands, don't reach. Not for 10 minutes. Just for the 40 seconds. See what actually shows up in that gap. Not the ache disappearing, the thing it was trying to build. For most of human history, the empty moment wasn't a problem to solve. It was where the next thought came from. Today, it's a problem you solve in half a second, 40 times an hour. And somewhere in that half second, every single time. The thought that would have shown up at second 41 never gets the chance.